Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. So today we are going to revise some of the most important points of the Indian economy subject. Now in addition to these points that I have written, I will also tell you the additional points. So do listen to the lecture and don't skip any of the part as it is very important and can be very helpful for your upcoming examination. Now let us study about the nature of Indian economy. First of all, there are basically three types of economy. सबसे पहले तो there comes the capitalist model. There is the capitalist model. Then comes the socialist model, and then there is one is the mixed model. Now in the capitalist model, the primary motive of this type of an economy is for the profit maximization. So the profit maximization is the aim, whereas the social cause is considered at the lowest level. Now in the socialist economy, as the name suggests, the majority of the economical progress is based on the social cause, it is for the public good and not for the profit maximization. Okay, so in this capitalist model, private companies take part, and whereas in the socialistic model, the government undertakes majority of the activity. So there is a mixed model as well. Now in mixed model, there is participation of both government as well as the private sector. So where there is participation of both, that economy is termed as a mixed economy. Now the nature of Indian economy is a mixed economy. Why? Because there is coexistence of both public as well as the private sector. India, we know that 71% of the population focuses on the agriculture, and India is a labor surplus economy. That is why most of the factories are being established in India. May I take example of Samsung here? Samsung has a very large plant in the Noida. Why? Apple also has the local manufacturing facilities in India. Why? Because the labor in our country is very cheap, and by labor I mean unskilled labor. Labor is very much abundantly situated in India. That is why India is a labor surplus economy. Okay, I hope you have understood this. Now labor surplus economy is, it means that labor is in excess, it means that labor is in the larger quantity, whereas in the capital surplus economy, the machines are abundantly used. Now the capitalistic model, or the capital surplus economy, is a major feature of the developed countries. Okay, I hope you have understood this point. Now what are the feature of underdeveloped country? Underdeveloped, as the name suggests, that it is not developed. Then underdeveloped, see, there are three level. Basically, if I talk about the countries or the economy as whole, on the top is the developed countries. Now these developed countries constitute USA, Russia, etc. Although China is also developed, but it terms itself as developing. On the second, there is developing. Now we, the countries like India and most of the around 80% of the countries of the world, term themselves as developing. And at the last level comes the underdeveloped. Underdeveloped economy is the economy which is at its lowest level. Technology is also not there, labor surplus is absolutely there, availability of capital is not there, per capita income, or the income that a people earns, is also very low. So let us now see some of the features of the underdeveloped economy. Low per capita income, it means that people will earn less. When the people will earn less, people will spend less, and if the people will spend less, there would be lesser demand in the economy, and the lesser demand would ultimately lead to less production, because people are not thinking, or not people are not there to buy the product, so the production will lower. So as the production or the supply will lower, ultimately the economic growth will decline, or the GDP of the country will decline. So this is a vicious cycle that moves on. So see, here I am not telling you just these terms only. I am explaining you the way the economy works. I hope you are understanding this point. Now let us start with the next point. The second thing is low rate of capital formation. Now the capital formation rate is low. See, the capital expenditure is the one that is incurred on the infrastructural resources of the country. Now this infrastructure would in hand give employment, because इसका construction होगा तो then it would give employment. So the employment would lead to increase in per capita income, and again that cycle works, that increase in per capita income would ultimately trigger the demand, and demand would trigger the supply in the economy, and ultimately the economy will boost and the GDP of the country will rise and the country would experience an economic growth. Now, underdeveloped economy, another one feature is high dependency ratio. Now, I forget to mention that in the underdeveloped economy, there is low rate of capital formation. It means that infrastructural investment in these types of economy is very much less. That is why economic growth is very much less. Next is high dependency ratio. Now the earning hand is one person and the other people in the families are dependent on that person, so there is an high dependency ratio. Then there is inequitable distribution of income. The distribution of income can be measured between the rich and the poor. Now the equitable distributions means that there the difference or the if I say in other words, the gap between the rich and poor is very less in the developed economy. But in underdeveloped economy, majority of the rich people holds the maximum amount of money, whereas poor gets poorer. Next is let us now read the concept of national income and GDP. So what is known as national income is it is net national product at factor cost. Now let us dive into the formula that is given, that is C. Whenever you see G, it means gross. Okay, and if we have to derive from gross to net, then we would have to subtract depreciation from gross. Whenever we subtract depreciation from gross, we arrive to net. So similarly here, gross national product at market price, we deduct depreciation, we will arrive at net national product at market price. Now to arrive at factor cost, we have to subtract the indirect taxes and we have to add the subsidy. Okay, so national income formula, that is NNP at factor cost, would arrive at gross national product at market price. May say depreciation we will reduce and then we will subtract indirect taxes and add the subsidy. Okay, now there is a list of formula. I've already told you net national product at market price. When we subtract gross from depreciation, we would arrive at net. Okay, then net national product at factor cost. When we arrive at net national product at market price, we subtract indirect taxes and we add subsidy, then we will come to net national income at factor cost. Okay, now the another formula, this is the same thing that is given, so I hope you have understood this. Let's now see some of the key points. Now what is national income? So national income is the money value of the goods and services that are produced within the economy, and it is derived by net national product at factor cost. This I have already told you. Now the net national product we subtract from gross national product. From depreciation we would arrive at the net figure. Next in the line is when GDP is added to net income from abroad and we subtract the depreciation, then also net national product comes. So there are two formulas. First one is when we subtract gross from depreciation, and the another one is when the GDP is added to net income from abroad. The resulted figure is gross national product, and when we subtract depreciation from it, we come to the net national product. Another formula for national income is C plus I plus G, and we have to subtract X minus M from it. Okay, the net effect of X minus M is then added, whereas in which C stands for consumption expenditure, I stands for investment expenditure, G stands for government expenditure, and then X minus M is export minus import. It means X here means export and M here means imports. Now the GDP is calculated by three methods. Now what are these three methods? The first one is the product method, income method, and then the expenditure method. Okay. What is per capita income? When we divide national income, or in other words, net national product at factor cost by the total population, we come to the per capita income. Now, net domestic product is a better metric than gross domestic product. Why? Because net is derived when we subtract depreciation. So it is a better metric because the depreciation of all the countries have been accounted for in the net part, and it is better to compare the world economies through net domestic product. Now, same is the difference between real income and nominal income. Now, the real income means the real money that you have in hand. Real means that which is adjusted for inflation. So, the real income is adjusted for inflation, whereas on the other hand, the nominal income is not adjusted for inflation. Next is the real income remains unchanged even if prices and the monetary income have been doubled. Why? Because the inflation have been adjusted for it. If it is the nominal income that is given, then the prices and the monetary income, if the prices and the monetary income changes, then the nominal income will also change because inflation is not accounted for in the nominal income. Okay. Now, what is the Amartya Sen's model of economic growth? So, it is the welfare model. Now, this economic growth model, it propagates that there should be an economy which should be people oriented, or the welfare measure should be taken. It means the government should focus on establishing hospitals. The government should be concerned to open colleges, schools. Welfare approach is to be followed. Okay. Now, economic security to be given to that who are the poorest people. So, this model of growth is related with Amartya Sen. Now, the Hindu rate of growth, it is associated with the GDP. ठीक है, population से confuse मत करना इसको. The Hindu rate of growth is related to the GDP. Now, the economic growth is coupled with inflation. It means that for economic growth to happen, some amount of inflation should be there in the economy. It is a standard practice which is considered. Okay. Now, the task of checking the inflation, whether it is in the range or not, is given to the Reserve Bank of India. Now, the Reserve Bank of India, through its quantitative as well as its qualitative efforts, keeps in check the inflation, which generally ranges from 4 to 6%. The deviation for which in any 4 quarters, if there is consecutive increase or consecutive decrease in the 4 quarters, then the government of India tells RBI to submit a report of what and why it is happening that inflation is not in control. Okay. So the primary task of controlling inflation rests with the RBI. And another important thing, who decides the target of inflation? So it is the government of India that ascertains the level of inflation, and the responsibility to control the inflation rests with the RBI. Okay. Now there are these three terms. Now, meltdown is related to steep fall in the stock prices. Now, the stock prices or the stock market in India is regulated by the Security Exchange Board of India, that is SEBI. On the other hand, recession is related to massive contraction of the economic activities. Now, in recession, what happens is the economic growth level falls to even negative. Now, what is slowdown? So, slowdown is a better term than recession, because in slowdown, there is a general decrease in the economic activities. Okay, but in recession, there can be a negative growth rate in the economy. Now, 1991 policy, you are all aware of the LPG policy, which was conducted or which was started during the prime ministership of PV Narasimha Rao at the time when Dr. Manmohan Singh was the finance minister. And this policy of LPG stands for liberalization, privatization and globalization. Now, LPG started with changes in the industrial licensing. the Indian markets were made open for the foreign companies and foreign markets. Okay. Now, the term privatization, what does the term privatization means? Whenever a private company holds more than 50%, or if the private company holds 51% of the share of a company, then it is said to be privatization. Okay. Now, if there is 49% holding of the government of the private companies, then it is termed as strategic disinvestment, and this strategic disinvestment term has been given by the Niti Aayog. Okay. Now, if I tell you about the Niti Aayog, the chairman of Niti Aayog is our Prime Minister, and the vice chairman is Suman Bedi. Okay. This Niti Aayog was established in the year 2015 as the planning commission was dissolved. Okay, so I have made you revise some of the various points that are here. Now, what are the real sectors? See, there are basically two sectors of the economy. The one is real sector and the other one is financial sector. Now, the real sector is a sector that produces the goods and services, and isme agriculture also comes and manufacturing also comes. Okay, and then these two constitutes the real sector. Okay, so agriculture, manufacturing, construction services, all of these comes in the real sector. Now, finance means money, so anything that is related to the financial matter or the money or the financial asset is related to the financial sector. Now, commercial bank lending money, this comes in financial sector. Corporate body issuing the rupee denominated notes, which are also known as the masala bonds, so these comes under the financial sector. Now, next is, what are the signs of economic growth? There is a growth in per capita income. I have already explained you the basics. Now, per capita growth is the most appropriate measure of economic growth, as the per capita income measures the welfare of the country. Okay, it measures the welfare of the people of the country. The GDP or the net domestic product does not measure the welfare. The GDP gives an idea about the economic growth. The NDP, that is the net domestic product, it is used to compare the worldwide economies, and this per capita income or the national income, it is there to ascertain the welfare of the people living in that country. Now, per capita income at constant prices, see again, there is a concept of constant and current, which is similar to that of real and nominal. Now, real, I already told you, real income is adjusted for inflation. Similarly, in constant prices, the prices are adjusted for inflation, whereas if I talk about the current prices, so current prices are not adjusted for inflation. That is what the concept is. Now, per capita income was first ascertained by Dadabhai Naoroji. Now, Dadabhai Naoroji, in his book Poverty and Un-British India, he gave the concept of drain of wealth theory. So, I hope you will know this point. Who was the chairman of the National Income Committee of 1949? So, P.C. Mahalanobis was the proponent. Also, Mahalanobis is also known for the second 5-year plan. Okay, first 5-year plan was made by Harold Domar. You have to tell me in the comment section who gave the idea and who formulated the third 5-year plan and the fourth 5-year plan. You have to mention the names of the persons. Okay. First attempt to calculate the national income was made by Dadabhai Naoroji. First to determine the national income scientifically was V.K.R.V. Rao. National income in India is ascertained by NSO. Now, the NSO in 2019, it was not there. In 2019, what happened that NSSO plus CSO, these two organizations which came under the Ministry of Statistical and Program Implementation, they both were merged to form National Statistical Organization. What is the base year in the national income accounting? So the base year is the year whose price are being used to calculate the real GDP. Real GDP is that GDP which is adjusted for inflation. It is adjusted for inflation. Okay. New base year of the GDP has become 2011 and 2012. Highest growth rate of the Indian economy was achieved in the year 2006-2007. Higher share in the household saving. Now, household save through cash. They have their bank account, they hold gold. So these are the different things that are They are in the household saving. So the highest share in the household saving is that of the physical asset. Now this includes tangible assets. Now the tangible assets such as land, gold, etc. So the physical assets constitute the highest share in the householding saving. Next is nodal agency for implementing the sustainable development goals is the Niti Aayog. India's rank in the Sustainable Development Index of 2024 is 109th. Also, if I talk about the Sustainable Development Index of India, which is released by Niti Aayog, you should know which country, which state has secured the topmost position. So the topmost position in the Sustainable Development Index of Niti Aayog is Uttarakhand as well as Kerala. Whereas if I talk about the worst performing state, so it is Bihar. Now next is the genetic industry includes agriculture. Charan Singh was against the idea of cooperative farming. Tenancy reforms, which were introduced in the year 1951, these included the regulation of rent, security of tenure, and conferment of the ownership on the tenants. Now, the tenancy reforms were introduced by the First Amendment Act of 1951, in which the zamindari laws were changed for serving the socialistic principles of the society. Now, if I talk about the land holdings, the marginal land holding, it means that below 1 hectare of land. Small means 1 to 2 hectare, semi-medium is 2 to 4 hectare, medium means 4 to 10 hectare, and large means 10 hectare and above. Okay, now if I talk about Bihar specifically, now this point is important for the BPSC examination. The Bihar land holding is the second lowest after Kerala. Now, black soil, which is also known as Regur soil, is well known for growth of cotton. Also, this black soil is it retains moisture. Also, when the black soil dries, it cracks up. It cracks wide open. Okay, now this type of soil is also known as Regur soil and it is ideal for growing cotton. Now, price stabilization fund was introduced by Government of India in 2014 and 15 for potato, onion and pulses. Now, there are some different organization and their year of establishment. Now, NABARD was established in the year 1982. Self-help group bank linkage program, which was led by NABARD, it was there in 1992-93. RRB came up in 1975. Kisan Credit Card Scheme came up in 1998. Now, SBI was nationalized in the year 1955. On the other hand, General Insurance Act or the insurance companies were nationalized in 1961. Next is long-term agricultural credit is provided by land development banks. The MSP is decided by CACP, that is Commission on Agricultural Commodities. Now, as MSP is decided by CACP, FRP is there, that is fair remunerative price is there for sugarcane. Now, this FRP for sugarcane is determined by CACP, whereas MSP is given for the agricultural products. Okay. Now, the Agricultural Prices Commission APC was set up in the year 1965. NAFED is mainly connected with the agricultural marketing. Now, there are different industries and the places. Balco is there in Korba, Indal is there in Hirakud, Malco is there in Mettur, and Hindalco is in Renukot. Rourkela steel plant was made in collaboration with Germany, whereas the Barauni thermal plant was made with the collaboration of Russia. Other to that, the information technology policy was introduced in 2000, mineral policy in 2011, hotel policy in 2006, and industrial and investment promotion policy in 2010. Next is fiscal policy and the revenue. Gender budgeting, it started in the union budget of 2005-2006. Now this GST was proposed by a task force that was presided by Vijay Kelkar. Now GST is an indirect tax which is a destination based tax. Now this was introduced by 101st Amendment Act and the first country to introduce GST was France. These are some of the important points. Now GST, it abolished various taxes like service tax, central excise, VAT, etc. Now custom duty is not included in GST. Now I am going to tell you some of the different taxes that are not included in GST and this point is very important. Now the custom duty is not included in GST. Alcohol for consumption is also not included in GST. Petroleum is also not in GST and electricity is also not included in the GST reforms. The fiscal policy that is formulated by the Finance Ministry of Finance, it prepares the economic survey, and long-term fiscal policy was announced by VP Singh. Now, budget is a tool of fiscal policy. Now, there are two types of as I told you, for controlling inflation, there are basically two types of policy. Now, I have to dedicate a separate chapter about how this monetary policy and fiscal policy work. I will make a separate chapter if you all tell me to do so. But in short, I am telling you, for controlling inflation, there is a two-folded efforts. The first one is made by the RBI. Now, RBI controls the monetary policy. Now, in monetary policy, I have already told you there are qualitative and there are quantitative elements. Now, the quantitative elements includes the bank rate, it includes the cash reserve ratio, it includes the statutory liquidity ratio, it includes the reverse repo rate, it includes the repo rate. Now, these are some of the basic things through which the RBI controls the credit. Next in line comes the fiscal policy. Now, this fiscal policy is introduced by the government of India. Now, through taxes and other thing, taxes, subsidies, etc., the government of India controls the fiscal policy. Then there is zero based budgeting. Now, this is a method in which all expenses must be justified for each new period. It means that expenses that have been allocated, they must be used, and on the basis of their usage, the further financial assistance will be provided in future. Now, this zero based budgeting was introduced in USA at first. Next is revenue neutral rate. This is related to GST. Also, e-way bills are associated with GST. Now, this fiscal policy is taken care by the Ministry of Finance, in which taxation and other government expenditure are increased or decreased as per the situation demands. The budget of India is prepared by the Department of Economic Affairs and the Ministry of Finance. Also, I'd like to add an important thing here, that there is no mention of budget in the Constitution of India. So what is mentioned is in Article 112 of the Constitution, the President lays down to the Parliament to present the annual financial statement. Okay, so this budget is named as annual financial statement in the Constitution. Budget is not separately mentioned in the Constitution of India. This you need to remember. Now, what constitutes the revenue account of India? See, if I talk about the account of the government of India, then there are two types of account. The first one is revenue, another one is capital. Now, in revenue, there is revenue receipts, and then there is expenditure. Whereas capital, there are capital receipts and there is capital expenditure. Now, the receipts part, there is tax revenue. Now, this tax revenue is through the direct tax as well as indirect tax, and there are non-tax revenue. Okay, and in expenditure there are revenue expenditure, different items of the revenue expenditure. So what are there in the revenue account of government? There are interest received, tax received, profits and dividends, small finance, so small savings, these are under the debt received. Debt matlab the capital receipts. The railway budget was merged with the general budget in the year 2017. Reduction of fiscal deficit of the budget, it reduces revenue expenditure, rationalize subsidy. It means what? See, reduce the deficit of budget, it means the fiscal deficit or the expenditure of government is high. So what can the government do to decrease its fiscal deficit? Now, the probable things that the government can do, first of all, is to reduce its expenditure. How can the government reduce its expenditure? By reducing the revenue expenditure. It means defense expenditure the government can reduce. The government can rationalize or reduce the subsidy that can be given. So all of this will tend to lessen the amount of money that is spent by the government of India, and automatically when the money that is spent by the government of India is decreased, the fiscal budget or the fiscal deficit of the government would decrease. On the another hand, there are revenue expenditure. Now, the basic difference between revenue and the capital expenditure is, if I talk about the revenue expenditure, if the government does revenue expenditure, there is liability is not created. Okay, whereas if there is capital expenditure, liability on the government is created. Okay, now these revenue expenditure includes the salaries and allowances, it includes pension, it includes subsidy, interest payments, all of this is there. Now I would like to keep this video at this point only. If you want the second part, I will bring a second part This part would be solely for the purpose of revision. I hope ki I am able to make you understand. I'm not making long videos, because previously I've also made the long videos, but all of you watching do not show that much interest in the long video. That is why I'm targeting to keep this video around 30 minutes, so that you can revise the things effectively. I hope this video has helped you. If it has, do like this video, comment करके ज़रूर बताना वीडियो कैसी लगी, एंड डू सब्सक्राइब टू द चैनल इफ़ यू आर न्यू टू द चैनल. टिल देन कीप स्टडिंग एंड थैंक यू फॉर वॉचिंग.